what I want to talk about today is the subconscious mind. Okay, there is two parts to the mind, the conscious mind and the subconscious. The conscious mind is responsible for your critical thinking, your logic, and your willpower. It makes up about 10% of the mind. Now, the other 90% of the mind is the subconscious mind, which rules your beliefs, emotions, habits, values. And a lot of people make the mistake of just playing up here. They never really delve into the subconscious mind, which means that you're missing out on 90% of your brain's capability. So we really want to learn how to access and work with that for greater growth, essentially. So the subconscious mind controls 90% of our behavior. And Bruce Lipton wrote this book, The Biology of Belief. And basically, through research, he proved that it shows 90% of our thoughts, emotions, and actions stem from subconscious beliefs, and that these subconscious beliefs are formed in childhood. So there's something magic about the age of 7. By the age of 7, the majority of your beliefs are formed, right? And this is because leading up to 7, you are in an open and receptive state. You are in a theta brainwave. And I will teach on the theta brainwave throughout this call, but basically means you're accepting information around you. And then after the age of 7, your beliefs become more difficult to change, because when you are met with new information, you assess it against your existing beliefs, and then you can choose whether you accept or reject the information. So social learning theory by Albert Bandura talks about how we actually learn before the age of 7. And we learn from our parents and caregivers primarily, but there are 4 ways that we actually take in information and form beliefs, right? So the first is observation. So what we see, we're learning from what we see and what people are doing. We learn by imitating. So we do what other people are doing to fit in, and that's how we learn. We learn from feedback. Feedback is important because you're essentially learning from the reactions and responses of those around you. So if you were to get in trouble for a certain thing, that you learn that it's no good, and then you adjust your behavior to get less negative feedback and more positive feedback. And the last way that we learn, according to this theory, is internalization. So what meanings do we give things based on what has happened, what we've seen, what we've received as feedback? What meanings do we give them? And we're learning all kinds of things, emotional responses, coping mechanisms, relationship patterns. And we also learn from our parenting styles. So this is attachment theory, but basically the way that our parent cares for us and how they are, we learn and adapt to that. So there's 4 types of attachments, and I won't spend long here, but a secure attachment is them being direct and responsive and available. But you can also have parents that are quite avoidant or distant or absent, and that would fall into this dismissive or avoidant attachment. You can have an anxious parent where they're always distracted and doubting, or you can have a fearful parent where they're a little bit unpredictable. And you learn through the 4 ways that we've gone through how to give and receive love, what is normal, what behaviors are normal. And then these affect your beliefs. They influence your now beliefs around safety, love, and self-worth. And these attachment styles are typically passed down from one generation to the next just by that social learning theory, or by watching, observing, internalizing. They can also be passed through DNA. I will touch on it later, but it's not too important to understand. And then the next thing that happens is that when you have beliefs, it creates your behavior. So an example of this is when you're younger and you are getting in the car, you typically don't know to put your seatbelt on. And then your parent might say something horrific like, if I crash, you'll fly straight through the windshield. And And so you learn, oh, okay, my seatbelt is required to keep me safe, or my seatbelt will prevent me from dying, right? And then this belief creates your behavior because, okay, well, I'll put the seatbelt on, I'll prevent that thing, I'll put my seatbelt on. And then the more that we do a behavior, it forms into a habit through repetition. So it takes 66 days to form a habit on average. And when you do things repeatedly, it creates a habit of behavior. So these then store in the subconscious mind. So things like putting your seatbelt on or brushing your teeth, the more you do it, the more it locks in. It just becomes a habit. You don't have to think about it. And that leads me to the automatic thought. So the American Journal of Psychology says that the brain operates largely on autopilot. In fact, 90% of decisions are made subconsciously, based on habits and beliefs rather than conscious thought. Now, if you have ever experienced like driving home from work, a route that you've driven all the time, you're driving home and you get home and you go, how did I even get here? I wasn't really aware of what was going on. I've just driven myself home. That is autopilot working because your body knows the route. So you've now automated the drive there. Your body's taken over. So you may not have been present to what you were doing, but you've autopiloted there. And the reason this happens is because humans think so much. We have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. So if we had to make 60 to 80,000 decisions a day, it would be exhausting. Imagine thinking about how to walk, how to breathe, how to brush your teeth. It's really tiring. So then the brain conserves energy for survival. So the brain actually uses 20% of your daily calories. So by automating thoughts and processes, it saves energy, right, for more complex or for newer tasks. So it's a survival response. And autopilot is essentially just living in response to your mind because you're not consciously choosing, you're just allowing your mind to run the show. So if your subconscious influences all of these things, right, how you communicate, how you express yourself, how you react to conflict or set boundaries or don't, how you make decisions, and how you navigate relationships, like this is huge. It's literally 90% of your life. So if your subconscious is influencing that and you're not already getting what you want in life and in love, then your subconscious mind is the bottleneck, right? Which is great to know. It's great to know because the brain is neuroplastic, which means we can change it. And neurons can rewire, right? There's no age limit. It can happen at any time. And neuroscientific research actually shows that your neural pathways are constantly changing. So especially when you're practicing new ways of thinking. So it's already happening. It's just how do we get control and consciously start to choose how we think, how we act, how we behave. And this is really why rewiring your subconscious beliefs is the best and fastest way to get what you actually want. Because when you change your beliefs, new neural pathways form. And that leads to new behaviors and actions. So if we remember habits take 66 days to form, you can imagine unlearning habits would take 66 days. And if you change the neural pathways, you change the behavior and action. Now, there's other ways to create change in your life, especially in terms of communication. You can do assertiveness training, talk therapy, and change your habits. Habits take a while, they're 66 days. And talk therapy and assertiveness training, the problem with that is that they work on a conscious effort level. So that's only 10% of the mind. So it's not actually changing things in a quick way. It's a slower process because they're actually not addressing deeper subconscious patterns. So rewiring the subconscious is more effective because it actually gets to the root cause of the issue. It actually changes what is going on at a deep level so that the behavior can simply change after that. And studies have shown that therapies targeting the subconscious So like theta healing, hypnotherapy, NLP, they show faster and more sustainable improvements in behavior compared to traditional therapy. And this is mainly because the subconscious mind goes deeper, it operates faster, and then it can allow for quicker behavior changes.